Okay, I'm going to record it to the cloud this time and hope that that works better than it has in the past. I would like to call to order this meeting of the town board of the town of Northeast at 7 o'clock on Thursday, April 8th, 2021. And I would like to ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States
of America,
and to the republic
for which
it stands,
one
one nation, under God, indivisible,
with
with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Gail, would you kindly do a roll call for us?
Absolutely. Supervisor Cannon?
Here.
Councilman Fideli?
Here.
Councilman Kay?
Here.
Councilman Midwood?
Here.
Councilwoman Morrison?
Here.
We have quorum.
Okay. I would like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by John Midwood.
Second.
Second by Ralph Fideli. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. I've got a few comments which I'd like to start with. As I have often done, because we are still in the era of COVID, I have made a comment about the Dutchess County statistics. The Dutchess County, the number of cases being followed by the county in the county has gone down a little bit since our last meeting. It's down to 1,297. They don't now list the number of hospitalizations, but the positivity rate of 4.47 is pretty similar to what it's been the past month or two. So one could say there's maybe a glimmer of good news there. I'm hoping that with the increase in vaccinations that we really start to see a greater ability to go back to our lives as we knew them. I always hesitate to say go back to normal because I'm just not sure that that's something we will see this year, but improvement would be helpful. One of the things going forward that I want to look at is to look at our town hall protocols and to see how they are working and whether they all make sense going forward. That's something I want to involve both the board and all the department heads in. I also hope that our May town board meeting could be in public. Most of the other towns around us are now very much meeting in public. We have held back partly because of the size of our meeting room, but the library annex works better for us, and it has already worked for the ZBA. And I know that there will be an increasing number of meetings that will be held there. Speaking of COVID, Dutchess County is planning a pop-up vaccination clinic in Millerton. The vaccination clinic is going to be on Friday, April 16th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the American Legion. It will be, as I understand it, it's going to be J&J vaccine. So it would be, as we refer to it, one and done. And they have asked me if we know of anybody who is still looking for vaccination and for whom travel might be difficult. Certainly this would be a great opportunity to have it available right in our community. So once again, that is on April 16th. There's going to be a dedication of the rail trail on Thursday, April 22nd. It's going to be I think a relatively small event, and I know the county is not publicizing it, not putting it on its website because they do not want to have a large number of people there, so as not to have a crowd. But I did want to let the board know that it will be at 11 o'clock, 11 in the morning on Thursday, April 22nd. The town has received an application or at least an inquiry from a fireworks vendor who would like to set up a fireworks tent to sell sparklers. I think this is the same vendor who has sometimes set up just on the Connecticut side of the line. And he's received permission from the Trottas to be located in the supermarket parking lot area. And we are trying to see whether we even have a permit to provide him. So I know that Warren and Ken McLaughlin are in touch with each other about that. Warren, I don't know if you have a comment about it at the moment, but if you do, maybe you could unmute yourself or.
Yeah, it's kind of complicated, but the New York State and the county statutes and regulations permit the sale of sparkling devices in communities. And there is a process that has to be gone through and certification that you have to get from the state. Ken is familiar with that process because he's handled it in other communities. The concern that I had was that we don't really have a provision in our zoning law which allows for temporary sales. But I think that Ken and I are going to talk about providing the necessary permit for this application anyway, as a peddler's license type of accessory use to the property. But I would like the zoning review committee to look into this. We really do need some regulations for these types of temporary uses. Other municipalities have them, and but we don't have it in Northeast. Right. So I can provide further information to the committee if and when they want to take that issue up.
Okay, great. Thank you. The county has notified the town that there are going to be some road closures this summer. They will be closing Smithfield Road to repair or to replace the culvert, which is in between Cooper Road and Silver Mountain Road. And that will close some point in June. And the detour will be Charlie Hill Road. They are also going to be closing McGee Hill Road. They will not close both of them at the same time, they've promised me. But that also is going to have some work done on it, and I will keep the board posted, and we will certainly post on our website any information we get about those closures. One other quick thing I just wanted to mention is that Councilwoman Morrison has very kindly offered to look at some of the ways we handle our finances, from bill paying, payroll, and so on, and looking at other towns to see whether other towns have found ways of doing things maybe better than we have. I think it's a great project. It has my full support, and we'll look forward to having a report from Lana at some point down the road. I don't know if you want to say anything about it, but hopefully that's enough of an intro. Okay, that's it for me. I had a department committee reports. I had a report from the head of the Millerton's Police Department of their events that took place in March, and I just got it really a few minutes before this meeting began. So I've sent it to the board. It will be posted on of the town's website in due course. I think you're all aware that one of the outcomes of the work that was done on the police reform plan was a recommendation that that report be posted on both the village and the town's websites. So expect to see that. Bob, I think you have a highway report.
Yes, I do. The next item on the equipment replacement plan is a new plow truck. The new truck will replace the 2005 plow truck. The total cost for a 2022 International plow truck is $263,485.34. I was wondering if the board would like to approve the purchase.
Right. You want to just describe the financing for the truck?
Sure. The down payment of $95,485.34 will come from the 2021 Highway Fund. And then we plan to borrow $168,000 for 4 years.
And Bob, as I recall, we have a truck whose financing is ending this year. So the financing for this truck will actually begin next year, or the payments for the financing will begin next year. So we're not significantly increasing the borrowing of the town.
No, we're not. We are not.
Right. I believe that we will need a reading of this resolution. Gail, could you read the resolution, please?
Certainly. A resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of a statutory installment bond of the town of Northeast, Dutchess County, New York, to pay the cost of acquisition of highway equipment for said town, to wit, a 2022 International Model HV 513 SVA 6x4 cab and chassis with plow, wing, and combination dump body / spreader. Whereas this board desires to authorize a statutory installment bond for the financing of the purchase of a 2022 International Model HV 513 SVA 6x4 cab and chassis with plow, wing, and combination dump body / spreader, hereinafter the equipment. And whereas this board by resolution authorized the purchase of the equipment per the Onondaga County Contract number 8996. Now therefore be it resolved by the Town Board of the Town of Northeast, Dutchess County, New York as follows. Section 1, the maximum estimated cost of the equipment, including incidental expenses to be incurred in connection therewith, is $263,485.34. Section 2, the plan for the financing of the purchase is as follows. A, by the issuance of a general obligation statutory installment bond of the town of Northeast, hereby authorized to be issued pursuant to the local finance law in the maximum amount of $168,000 and by the expenditure of $95,485.34 from the 2021 Highway Fund. Section 3, the statutory installment bond will be dated on a date to be determined by the town supervisor and will mature no more than 4 years following the date of execution of the bond with prepayment received, and will bear interest in the name of the town of Northeast by the town supervisor and by the town clerk, and will be sealed with the corporate seal of the town of Northeast. Section 4, it is hereby determined that the period of probable usefulness of the aforesaid object or purpose is 15 years pursuant to section 11.00 of the local finance law. It is further determined that the maximum maturity of the bond herein authorized will not exceed 4 years. Section 5, the faith and credit of the said town of Northeast, Dutchess County, New York are hereby irrevocably pledged to the payment of the principal of and the interest on such bond as the same respectively become due and payable. An annual appropriation shall be made in each year sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on such bond becoming due and payable in such year. There shall annually be levied on all the taxable real property in said town, a tax sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on such bond as the same become due and payable. Section 6, subject to the provisions of the local finance law, the power to authorize the issuance of and sell to bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance and sale of the statutory installment bond herein authorized, including renewals of such note, is hereby delegated to the town supervisor, the chief fiscal officer. Such notes shall be of such terms, form, and content, and shall be sold in such manner as may be prescribed by said supervisor, consistent with the provisions of the local finance law. Section 7, the powers and duties of advertising such bond of sale, conducting the sale, and awarding the bond are hereby delegated to the town supervisor, who shall advertise such bond for sale, conduct the sale, and award the bond in such a manner as he shall deem best for the interest of the town, provided, however, that in the exercise of the delegated powers, he shall comply fully with the local finance law and any order or rule of the state comptroller applicable to the sale of municipal bonds. The receipt of the town supervisor shall be a full acquittance to the purchaser, who shall not be obliged to see the application of the purchase money. The town supervisor shall be authorized to execute any and all documents and to perform any and all steps necessary to obtain financing incident to this purchase. Section 8, this resolution shall constitute a statement of official intent for purposes of Treasury Regulation Section 1.150-2. Other than as specified in this resolution, no monies are or are reasonably expected to be reserved, allocated on a long-term basis, or otherwise set aside with respect to the permanent funding of the object or purpose described herein. Section 9, the validity of such bond and bond anticipation notes may be contested only if, 1, such bond is authorized for an object or purpose for which said town is not authorized to expend money, or 2, the provisions of law which should be complied with at the date of the publication of this resolution are not substantially complied with, and an action, suit, or proceeding contesting such validity is commenced within 20 days after the date of publication, or 3, such bond is authorized in violation of the provisions of the Constitution. Section 10, this action is a type 2 action pursuant to part 617 of the rules and regulations implementing the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Section 11, this resolution shall take effect immediately pursuant to section 35.0052 and shall be published in full in the official newspaper, together with a notice of the town clerk in substantially the form provided in section 81.00 of the local finance law.
Thank you, Gail, for that. That's the longest one you've got to read tonight, so well done. Could I have, if there are any questions of Bob, now would be a good time to ask them, and if not, could I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So move.
Motion by George Kay.
Second.
Second, Lana Morrison. Gail, could you poll the board?
Absolutely. Supervisor Cannon.
Aye.
Councilman Fideli.
Aye.
Councilman Kay.
Aye.
Councilman Midwood.
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Okay. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Take good care of it.
Oh, we will.
I know that it will be a while before we have it.
Yes.
Once it gets ordered and it has to be built and so on.
Correct.
But I presume by the end of the year in time for next winter's snow season?
That's the plan.
Yep. Okay, good. Moving right along, our assessor is here. Catherine, do you have a report?
I do. I apologize. I have really bad allergy eyes, so I'm slightly distracted. So hopefully I'll be coherent. I just wanted to give you an update on the work in our office. It's been very busy. We set some pretty high goals for ourselves, but we are meeting them. As I spoke in the last few months, we embarked on a project this year to not do a full townwide, crazy reevaluation, but we did do a significant analysis on vacant commercial and residential properties in all the neighborhoods in all the town. And we did lots of analysis, and we have come to the conclusion, as I had mentioned, that some increases in assessments are going to be necessary in order to keep our assessments fair and equal and at 100% of market value. So we have finally completed all the analysis. We put in my numbers. The State Office of Real Property Tax Services, which basically governs my work, has reviewed and analyzed it and approved my work. So we're good to go. And I'm also happy to tell you that, as I also mentioned last month, I wanted to get numbers out to people a few weeks ahead of time. Technically, our tentative roll isn't published until May 1st by our assessment calendar, and that's when the numbers usually go out. But I wanted people to have a couple extra weeks to absorb the information, have time to call me, ask me questions if they have any issues with the work I've done. So we will be hopefully mailing them out by the end of next week, so that everybody will be able to have a few extra weeks of time to review it. Our grievance day comes towards the end of May. It's the Wednesday, the 26th of May this year. So that I think that gives people lots of time to reach out, and I'll be available, phone, email, hopefully back in the office soon. And I'll be there to answer any questions. I know, when we ever say assessment increases, people, freak out. Nobody wants to hear that. But hopefully everyone will understand that this has to be done to continue having an equitable role, so that everybody only pays their fair share of the tax burden. And that's what I've been striving for. And hopefully when you get your numbers, you'll see that that's what we've tried to achieve. So that's basically where we stand now. Hopefully everything will go smoothly, and we'll get everything out. And next month I could be able to report that people either happy, unhappy, or some mix in between. And I'll let you know how things are going next month.
Does anyone on the board have a question for Catherine? Nope. Anyway, thank you for that. And we will look forward to an update at our meeting in May.
You bet. Thank you, guys.
The board has received reports, the planning, zoning, and building department reports from the town clerk. And then we move to board committees. And Lana, I know you mentioned you had a report from the Recreation Committee. Lana?
Yeah, that's better.
There we go.
John Midwood and myself met with Jen and Alicia. We're the committee for the Park and Recreation, and we held our biannual meeting on March 25th. Our main topic of discussion was the renovation of the Eddie Collins Memorial Park. Bids for phase 1 went out on March 29th, and the deadline is April 30th. The contract will be awarded on May 10th, and the work should start 2 weeks after the selection of the contractor. The committee for this project would like to see phase 1 completed by September 10th. The committee for the new park has raised $1,152,000 so far. We talked about day camp. There will not be a day camp held again this year due to the construction of the new park and COVID. However, NECC is doing day camp at the Weebatuck school, and the village is considering paying for transportation for the children to get them to day camp. They'll rent a bus from the school. We have a 2-year contract with the village, which will expire May 31st of 2022. And the village annual budget for recreation is approximately $114,000. The town contributes 1/2 of the net expenses for the operating the program, not to exceed $36,000. So they're pretty much on track with what they're doing. Edie, I know, is on with us. If there's anything I missed, John, if you recall anything else that we talked about?
I think you covered it.
Are we good? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Lana. We put the cemetery committee up for a report. I don't know if we have a report or if that can wait till next month, Ralph, if there's been any new developments.
Yes, we have worked with the Northeast Historical Society, and they have agreed to give us a dedicated budget line. The budget line will be the Spencer's Corner Cemetery restoration. And we are going to form a special group, a friends group, that will be led by Claire Goodman. We have engaged an attorney, and we are looking to start a not-for-profit organization. I think we will start some restoration work this summer, and probably at our next meeting, I'll be able to go into some detail about that. So we're making progress.
Great. Okay, well, thank you. It's you know, since we first started talking about that, it's you know, two things have become clear. One is that this is a really important cemetery to the town. It goes way back. I think it is, without any doubt, the oldest cemetery in the town, and has great meaning to people, many people in the town who've lived here for a long time. The work that would be required to restore it, there's so many monuments that have fallen over, is really, it's big.
Many years.
But anyway, it's great that the board, and through you, Ralph, is taking an interest in this. This is part of our history, and I'm grateful to you and to Claire Goodman and to the others who are going to be getting involved, and to the Historical Society for being willing to play a role and help with that as well.
They've been very helpful.
I don't know whether either Lana or Ralph have a report from the police committee.
Just a short one. The police committee, along with much input from the community members, which I think all of us here are aware, that we've been working on the police reform and revitalization plan for the police department. The plan was approved by the village board on Monday, March 22nd, and then it was then submitted to the New York State's governor's office. I just wanted to mention, this was the committee's first attempt at a task such as this one, and it was challenging. No one had expertise in this area. We worked diligently to identify the issues that were critical and came up with solutions that would work for all of us in our community. We're a small community, and we must work together for accomplishment. As we move forward with this project, because it is going to be ongoing, and future projects, it's important that we all come together with an open mind and respect one another.
Thank you, Lana. And I would really like to thank Ralph and Lana for their work on this. When they were asked to be on the police committee, we had no idea how much would be involved in that. And as Lana referenced, it is, you know, the joint committee that was set up pursuant to the contract with the village. You know, none of the four people on that committee have any background in police protocols or anything else. So I do just want to thank you for the hard work and the sincerity with which you approached it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a learning experience.
I'm sure. George, do you have anything you want to say about the work on the highway?
several things, but I think had better reserve some of that comment until we see how it progresses here.
Okay.
I would like to just briefly say that we have been in touch with our engineer on several occasions. I know you have sent several emails, and that we are facing a delay in what we thought was going to, what the thought was going to be the schedule of getting out our RFP. Originally, we were looking at February. Then we were looking at March. Then we were looking at April. And now the latest is possibly the end of April. It's very disappointing. And I hope that we can stick to that schedule. And I don't think I'd better say too much more on it. I am very disappointed with it.
You're not the only one who's disappointed. We're looking forward to getting the work product from our engineers. I have been pursuing them by phone, by text, by email, and excuse me, and I did speak with the engineer today, and was promised that we would have something to look at by the end of this month. But that's much later than we had wanted, and we'll have more to report back to the board next month. There is no report from the Zoning Review Committee at this point, so I think that takes care of board committee reports. The next item on the agenda is that we are required by the state, every town in the state is required to implement a public employer health emergency plan. This is, COVID basically made us realize that for many towns, including town of Northeast, when faced by a pandemic like the one that we've been faced with, we really had to look to the county and the state for a lot of guidance on what to do and how to move forward. This is an effort to put into writing protocols and procedures if we were faced with another one down the road. We were provided with a template which we customized for the town, listing town departments and so on and so on. And I provided it to the board. The board, we have a resolution adopting this plan, which I would like Gail to read. If you would, Gail, if you could read this resolution.
Resolution adopting the Public Employer Health Emergency Plan for the Town of Northeast dated March 31st, 2021. Whereas a Public Employer Health Emergency Plan for the Town of Northeast dated March 31st, 2021 has been developed in accordance with the amended New York State Labor Law, Section 27-C, and the New York State Education Law, paragraphs K and L of Subdivision 2 of Section 2801-A, and whereas these laws were amended by the passing of legislation signed by the Governor of the State of New York on September 7th, 2020, open parentheses, S8617B/A10832, close parentheses, which in relevant part requires public employers to adopt a plan for operations in the event of a declared public health emergency involving a communicable disease. And whereas the plan has been drafted and submitted to the town board for approval and has been reviewed by the town board members and the attorney to the town and has been determined to be acceptable for adoption. And whereas this is a type 2 action under seeker which does not require environmental review. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby adopts the public employer health emergency plan for the town of Northeast dated March 31st, 2020, and directs the town clerk to file a copy of said plan in the town clerk's office and post the same on the town's official notice board and website, and to distribute copies of the plan to all town employees, volunteers, board, and committee members.
Could I have a motion to approve the resolution adopting the public employer health emergency plan for the town of Northeast?
So moved.
Motion by Ralph Fedeli.
Second.
Second, Lana Morrison. Gail, could you record the votes, please?
Certainly. Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fedeli?
Aye.
Councilman Kay?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Okay. Thank you very much. We're now starting to move along. Our town clerk has provided to the board the renewals of mobile home park permits and junkyard permit. We need to approve those permits. So I would like to have a motion from the board to approve the mobile home park permits and the junkyard permit.
So move.
Moved by George Kay.
Second.
Second, John Midwood. Gail, could you record our votes, please?
Certainly. Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fedeli?
Aye.
Councilman Kay?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison?
Aye.
Motion passed.
The next item is an amended resolution at our meeting in March. The board passed a resolution establishing a Town of Northeast Economic Development Advisory Committee. Since that time, there have been 2 more individuals added to that committee, and we have amended the language in the resolution slightly to allow for not only residents of the town and the village, but also for people doing business having a business in the town or the village to be part of that committee. And Warren has advised that since the resolution is the same as it was last month, that if we just read the paragraph that is different, that would suffice for today's motion. Is that correct, Warren?
Correct.
So Gail, could you read that paragraph that is a variation from last month's resolution?
Certainly. Whereas the town board has determined that the committee should consist of town and village residents and non-residents who own or rent property or operate businesses within the town or village who have interest, knowledge, and expertise in economic development and are desirous of contributing their time supporting such economic development.
That is the change in the wording. The 2 additional individuals who we will be adding are, Thorne Christiansdottir and Dick Hermans to the Economic Development Committee. So could I have a motion to approve the revised resolution?
So moved.
Motion by John Midwood.
Second.
Second.
Second by Ralph Fedeli. I think won that one. Gail, could you record our votes, please?
Certainly. Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fedeli?
Aye.
Councilman Kay?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is a presentation about the town's Climate Smart Communities Task Force and activity. I am going to share my screen, if I can, so that Kathy Chow can, let me see. So Chow, if I share it so one participant can share at a time, does that give you what you need?
I can't do it yet.
Oh. Okay, I have clicked on multiple people can share screens.
There we go.
Okay, so I'm turning this over to Kathy Chow, who has taken on, the amount of work that this task force has put in. I think very few people have any idea of what was involved in our signing up to be a climate smart community. When George Kay first mentioned it to me that this was something interesting that the Housatonic Valley Association and others were doing and sounded good, I agreed. It sounded good. We joined. Little idea did we have at the time of what was involved. It's enormous. And it is dealing with New York State's bureaucracy, which is a whole nother story. Anyway, I'm turning it over to you. All yours.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm Kathy Chow. I'm the task force coordinator. Wait a minute, I'm just gonna make it so I can see here. And we want to talk about Climate Smart Community. So what exactly is the CSC? You've heard bits and pieces, and I want to bring you all into the loop so that you understand the program and the opportunities that it holds for us. So it's a New York State program, and it focuses on two basic aspects. The first is mitigation, and that's about reducing the man-made causes of climate change. And secondly, adaptation offers methods to better handle extreme weather and climate chaos. So there are over 300 municipalities registered, and of that, 65 have earned bronze already, and that's the path that we are on. The cornerstone of the program is reducing New York State's greenhouse gas emissions as part of our commitment to the 2019 Act. And that requires a 40% reduction by 2030, and which is compared to 1990 numbers. The purpose is to slow the rate of global climate change. So what is the program? It's 12 elements in 4 categories. There are over 100 separate actions, and they're points-based. So you can really think of it like Boy Scout badges. You do tasks, you earn points, and we're about 1/3 of the way to bronze certification right now, which is 120 points. NYSERDA is another New York State agency, and they also have a program. It's a totally separate funding stream. That's not state tax money. They charge, and there's a charge on all energy bills that funds their initiatives. They focus on energy, saving costs and creating jobs and improving the environment. It's an older program. It predates Climate Smart. There are over 600 participating communities, and half of those are designated already. And there are crossover actions. So we're doing both programs, and certain actions apply to both, and some actions are very similar. So sometimes you can get credit on both programs for doing similar work or the same work. So we have a killer task force. which is a joint group from Northeast and Millerton. We have 12 members, including Chris and Matt, the village trustee, and 10 other volunteers with varying and really amazing skills and expertise. We've recently added volunteers also from Weebatuck. It's technically a subcommittee of the Conservation Advisory Council. And we partner with nonprofits and local resources and neighboring towns as well. So the Climate Smart Communities program and Clean Energies are both great ways of activating our comprehensive plan. And through the comp plan process, we really do know what our residents care about, and that is our environment. So the bottom line is we are conservationists. These are noble goals anywhere, but even more so in this spectacular location. So these actions will help us restore healthy, sustainable environments for our children. They'll help cope with extreme weather events, whatever Mother Nature throws at it. This is the adaptation side of Climate Smart Communities. So what are the benefits of all this hard work? Well, saving money for the town and for residents. We can jump the line for grant funding. Helps us protect the rural environment that's so precious to us. And inspire and educate both the public and ourselves. So how do we save money, especially for the town? Well, it's mostly about efficiency and doing things greener, especially in the long run. So for example, if we track usage in the town buildings and vehicles, evaluate it, identify ways to be more efficient, we can save money either in the short term or in the long term overuse. It's also about saving money for residents. There's education and resources that we can bring to residents to save energy and improve safety and prepare for harsher weather, things like insulation, advice. Certification and designation also help with grant funding from the county, from the state, and from foundations. So why bother to go for bronze? I'll give you an example. The DEC Office of Climate Change grant, we got one of those. They score their applications on a point system when they evaluate where to award the grants. And so bronze certification actually gives us additional points toward that score. So it can move us up in the line. The actions also help us protect the environment, the people, the plants, the critters from change that we don't want. They support biodiversity, they support soil regeneration, wise development. It helps us with decisions that we make and also helps with extreme weather. Flooding, wind, drought, but heat and cold and hail and erosion. $1 of prevention spent now is worth many multiples of that in repairs in the future. So this is a lot about planning. Inspiring and educating. So we do public events like Earth Day. We have a digital presence. We have information for individuals and families and for businesses and for government. So if we take a step back and talk about the history of our involvement, as Chris said, it started in 2018 with Housatonic Valley Association. So they helped us get a grant for a government operations greenhouse gas inventory. And just now, we're ready to issue our RFP, finally, because, drum roll, our contract was signed this week. That's a big deal. So that's a matching grant, and it will include in-kind work by the task force, as well as the consultant. They also included in this grant is a fully funded review of policies and procedures. That's part our grant and part Houstonic Valley Association got a grant to do this work for us, and also a road stream crossings report, which you've been involved with. And as you know, culverts are a huge subject. This is me on the cover of Drainage Weekly. Just kidding. The survey is now done. The reports are almost ready to submit. And the next round of grant funding is to do the work for things like this, where there have been priorities. And if we can get bronze certification, that improves our chances to get this work, gets us to the front of the line. That's why we do it. So we've already done some projects, and we've adopted some policies. For example, the solar permit was just adopted last month by you. Thank you very much. That's one of the actions. And that action is good for Climate Smart, and it's also good for clean energy. So that's one of those that we get credit for twice. We launched our digital presence. The Climate Smart Millerton is our nickname for digital. We did it first last year. Thorin generously hosted our pilot Earth Day site on her platform. Now we have a standalone website with a link on the town site. I hope you guys can all see it. We have a rock star volunteer webmaster, that's Rich Selzer. And another rock star is our editor, Tom Parrott. We also have Facebook and Instagram, and Rhiannon's doing a great job of managing those. On the website, there's a comprehensive section about the Climate Smart program and what we're doing in it. It has details and links on the About page, and there's a chart of our progress towards bronze. So other projects underway. So we are actually giving input on the highway garage. Lori Kerr is one of our task force members, and she offers hardcore expertise on making a greener highway garage. She's a lead building expert, and she's recommending looking into low carbon concrete and how to make the roof ready for solar panels, projections for various heating costs over time. She's not recommending that we go for LEED in this case, but she can tell us how those concepts may apply to our building and our budget and our situation. We're doing Earth Day 2021. It's going to be bigger than ever. It's a hybrid this time, part online. There are virtual events, and there's going to be farm tours, and it's all over the village, bigger than ever. There are more than 20 events spread all over town. We have also started with benchmarking. So benchmarking building energy usage of the town buildings and vehicles. And that is one of those overlapping projects between Climate Smart and Clean Energy also. And that's being done by task force volunteers. So we've been very fortunate to be involved in the Local Champions program. It's a nonprofit that helps municipalities get to bronze in Climate Smart. Lifeboat HV is the grant from New World Foundation. That's the nonprofit. And it's for training, literally for me, and $8,000 for Climate Smart related expenses. It also includes 2 sessions with Ty and Bond, the engineers, and they will review feasibility of potential projects for us, both from a grant perspective and an appropriateness or feasibility to do it. And in addition to that, the program includes Cornell's Michelle Gluck, who together with our team is doing an assessment of all the opportunities that we have in the Climate Smart program. So she's combing through over 100 actions for low-hanging fruit and things that are particularly relevant to us. At the end of that process, we'll get a prioritized report, There are some projects like the comprehensive plan. We've already done the work and they just need to be written up according to action requirements and submitted. She will also be recommending considering some policy actions, and that's coming up soon. This is an example of a policy action. So this is Complete Streets. You passed this just last year. Thank you. And it sets forth intention. It encourages consideration of green solutions, but it doesn't require that we adopt anything expensive or difficult, just that we consider the options. Sometimes those options will be better or cheaper over time or incentivized with grant money. So this is our way of stating that we're going to look into those things. This is some of the policy-oriented actions that are perhaps appropriate to us. We can explore them, you can explore them. Each of them would require its own resolution, and the town board would be considering each one in terms of its priorities, how it fits with the comprehensive plan, etc. And Chris will be bringing some to the May meeting. So we can look forward to that. So any questions for me?
Well, if I can just jump in. And just to going back to your last slide, I mean, this is really an interesting opportunity, I think, for the board to dig into some of the proposed actions, which the Climate Smart Communities program offers us to look at. The energy benchmarking for buildings, for instance, which you mentioned, which is already underway. And we're getting, the good news is with the new fueling operation that we have at the highway garage, for instance, we get now a computer printout that is very detailed as to which vehicle is using how many gallons of fuel. So we're able to benchmark our existing energy usage. We also get obviously utility bills showing how much electricity we're using, and so on. So these are things, many of which we are, as Chow mentioned, we're already doing. Comprehensive plan, which was already done. Anyway, there are lots of things which are aspirational, which the board can look at and decide which of them make sense for the town of Northeast and which might not. Anyway, that's the great thing that I like about this program. One of the things just to bear in mind is that both the town and the village are each going through this process separately. While we're doing many of these things together and why the task force is acting on behalf of both, each of them was certified or registered as a climate smart community and is seeking, bronze level certification. Anyway, it's involved a lot of work. All of those things that Chow talked about have taken a lot of time and a lot of research and a lot of work on the part of our great unpaid volunteers, and something that I just think is terrific that we have such an engaged group of people. If any of the board have any questions, now's the time to ask them.
Chow, are you looking at any time frame for when you hope to achieve bronze certification?
The next cycle is in July, and we would get, if we can get to actions that will be equivalent of 120 points, we can submit them in July, and we'll know by the end of August if we've achieved bronze. So we can submit things in dribs and drabs up to that, but it doesn't really count until you actually achieve bronze. So we're hoping that we can get to that threshold by July. I don't know if we can, mostly because a lot of the things that would be really easy for us are actually village things, or so it's hard to get 2 municipalities to 120 both. Like, we don't have streetlights that we can change to LEDs. That would be an easy one.
We don't have enough streetlights. That's the
We have
problem.
2. That doesn't qualify.
Yeah, I mean, as an example of something that has already been done, the village, as we all know, installed solar power collectors at the village's highway site on 22 many years ago. The village can get credit for that. If they put up, all they have to do is literally write it up and put up, I think, a sign at the site explaining what it is and how much energy it is saving. That's an example of where you get retroactive credit for something that you did. And I'm always somewhat in awe of the fact that the village did that so many years ago. They were quite
That was one person on the board who was really passionate and made it happen.
That was Yo Schulman.
So that's one of our stories about how a single person can really make a difference.
Yeah. Well, unless there are any other questions, I just want to thank you for that, for the presentation, and really for you and the task force for all the work that you're doing. It's impressive.
Well, we have some very passionate people, and their talents are really coming out now. Well,
it's great. So thank you. And we will look forward to getting updates. And this is very helpful, I think, in terms of giving the board some perspective and background when I bring additional items to them for their approval next month, hopefully.
And we'll be very visible on Earth Day. So everybody come.
Okay. Thank you. The last item is I just want to let the board know that the village is going to be applying for a grant from the Greenway, I think it's the Greenway Consortium, for part of the work that is being done on Eddie Collins Field. And if the town goes in with the village on this application, it will increase the amount of money that the village can raise for this particular item. And we don't have a resolution for this tonight, but I just wanted to let the board know that this is something that is coming down the road. I will be sharing with the board the details of it. I think the village will be giving us a copy of the application, which we don't have yet, and so we can look at it, but we do not have an application in front of the Greenway group at this time. So I think if we're able to partner with them and to increase the amount of funding that they become eligible for, it would be in all of our interests, since that field, which we've already heard about, is something which the entire community will be benefiting from. Okay, I will be asking the board for a motion to go into executive session at the end of our meeting to consider a matter concerning the performance of a member of the town staff. That's the language which is needed to go into an executive session. And so I put the public comments period now in advance of the monthly bills, abstracts, and so on, so that we can let people, if they have any comments, make them at this time. And I know we are expecting Sam Bussell to have some. Sam?
Yes.
The podium is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. I've been extremely impressed by Chow's group and the committee and the results of that. And to some degree, being the person that's the chair of the housing committee for the Tri-Town Coalition, I'm desperately looking for passionate people and qualified people to address this incredible crisis that we have for affordable housing. I don't know how many of the board members received or read the flyer that I sent out earlier today concerning the role of the Tri-Town Coalition and what we're trying to do. We have broadened the scope to 3 towns as opposed to just 1. And I know you got a presentation about that from Elizabeth and myself, probably pre-COVID. And assuming that the collaboration would gain us credibility and funding for different proposals. So that, did anybody see that flyer that I sent out? I guess not. It is a flyer that describes the messages, the messaging that we're trying to promote. After COVID, we're sort of lightening up and opening up after this incredible blow, which allowed people to take all the properties that we were looking at to make affordable and buy them, and we have no real estate now essentially to buy and renovate. So we have to take the bigger look of what we're going to do in the future. And one of the things that the first one that we're going to be talking about in our next meeting, which is Tuesday at 7 o'clock, and you're welcome to join us, is the issue of community outreach. Maybe this is it's certainly not a best kept secret that we need this kind of housing. But what does that mean, and how can we get the people who are either suffering or desperate for workers to really understand it and advocate for it? What are the aspects of the information that we have to get from assessing the real need? We had an assessment before COVID that over 40% of the people who owned houses or rented were cost burdened, which is a pretty incredible number. And now, of course, it's probably worse than that. I'm sure it's worse than that. So, but also on the bright side, a lot of people are attending or trying to provide or identify funding, particularly through the federal government and the state government. And so that's the aspect that we need to identify. So how we can get sort of not shovel ready, but project ready proposals so that we know how to spend that money. One of the short term projects that we can promote and is recommended in the comprehensive plan is more attention to the accessory apartment potential in the village, where people can convert a garage or upstairs or something like that to an accessory apartment and make that available in an affordable manner. And that's a matter of just research in terms of trying to, and promoting the idea where you could be getting a little income once you've provided enough funding for renovations, and also relieve some of the pressure on people looking for places. I've heard, 2 or 3 times recently how many people are being left out in the cold or forced out in the cold by a purchase and then an upping of the rent, or just simply changing the ownership. So we're in a really serious situation, and I think, and I'm very eager to find out how we can get the kind of professional and town-wide response and efforts to address this issue. So that's basically what the comprehensive plan is very key. And I've been attending the ZRC meetings and trying to do the best I can to provide information in terms of the sort of housing, the variety of housing that we can look at and be more liberal and more sort of aspirational as to what kinds of projects that we can conjure and what kind of developers we can get to fill this gap. If you take this gap that we already have and then you add the number of people who are trying to get into Millerton, read the New York Times, Millerton section, real estate section. But indeed, there are a lot of people that could use housing, and not only just affordable is a misleading term. It's housing, as I think that Kathy pointed out, it's had housing of various income levels, including the middle class who can't afford to buy or build a house or rent a house. So we have, a real challenge on our hands. And again, I would very much welcome suggestions as to where we might find more people who are willing to work. And I'm jealous of Kathy, who has such an extraordinary group. So that I can answer any questions if you have them, and more will be revealed. What we're planning in a community outreach program is to get small groups of people together that are brought together by a facilitator to talk about the narratives, the specific narratives that we have from them about their issues, the positive as well as negative. And we have trainers from the Regional Plan Association and another group out of Connecticut that have booklets that are the way forward, how to go about a complete action plan for housing. And another one from the Ulster County. The whole county has got an excellent booklet too. All the information is out there. We just have to find the people to do the work. And because everybody is, and the amount of funding is enviable in terms of what we were trying to do a decade ago, where there wasn't any kind of funding. And now people are really hell-bent on trying to get more people in affordable homes in the area. Any questions?
Well, thank you, Sam.
I just wanted to mention one other thing. With the community outreach, we would be hoping for a community conversation in the end of August. We've asked for some funding from the Berkshire Taconic Foundation, the NED program, and we have every reason to believe that we will have a robust event such as April 12th of 2019, which was very successful, getting all the people together from the three towns and outside to talk about the need. Thank you. Excuse me, Chris.
No, anyway, I just wanted to thank you. And this is something that I know that the town board does see as a huge challenge for our community. And it is the flip side of a lot of attention and investment, which we see headed this way. And it is a frustration for the town, just as the lack of a food market has been an enormous frustration for the town. And because a town our size, and we're not something like White Plains or Wappinger, which have planning departments and research departments and the capacity to create, housing authorities and so on. Just as we don't have the ability to do that, just as we don't have the ability to open and run a food market, which is a frustration. So I know that the work that the Tri-Town Coalition has been doing is really important to us. I've tried to attend as many of their meetings as possible. I've got quite a list of the ones that I've been able to be part of. They brought some very good speakers in and people from other parts who are very knowledgeable about strategies that have worked in other places. So I look forward to continuing to keep posted, Sam, on your work. And I know that we all know where to find you, and hope that we can help you in your work going forward.
Well, thank you. I think the other aspect of I mentioned the comprehensive plan, but the comprehensive plan recommends a housing committee, which would be combined with the village. And we have some representation from both, but we have to get more specific about tasks and goals. That's what I admired so about the structure that Cal presented. And the structure is there from these booklets that we have. And now we just have to put the people behind the structure and get more volunteers. Thank you.
I think Joan Binson has her hand up. If you would like to make a comment.
I have a question. I'm wondering if you have yet scheduled the next meeting of the police committee and when that might be.
I don't have an answer for that, and I don't know if when that committee is next going to be meeting. I don't know that there is a scheduled meeting for it.
We have not scheduled one yet, Chris.
Okay. When one is, it will be announced and definitely put on the website.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments from the public? Okay. Supervisor's report. There are no budget adjustments for this month. I have an abstract dated April 8th, 2021, totaling $240,593.26, broken down as follows. A fund, $199,247.43. B fund, $551.59. DB fund, $39,848.42. T&A2 escrow, $665 even. Payroll T&A, $280.82. Could I have a motion to accept the abstract?
So moved.
John Midwood, second by Lana Morrison. Gail, could you record our votes, please?
Certainly. Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fideli?
You're muted.
Aye. Sorry.
Councilman Kaye?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you. And I have a special abstract dated March 29th, 2021, totaling $1,220.27, broken down as follows. A fund, $1,220.27. Could I have a motion to accept that special abstract?
So moved.
Motion by Ralph Fideli.
Second.
Second by
George K.
George K. Gail, could you do your thing?
Sure. Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fideli?
Aye.
Councilman Kaye?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison?
Aye.
Motion passed.
The voucher committee for May 2021 will be George K. and Ralph Fideli. The clerk has distributed a draft of the minutes of the meeting of March 11th, last month. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Moved John Midwood. Second by Lana Morrison. Gail, could you take one more roll call?
Sure. Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fideli?
Aye.
Councilman Kay?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Okay. Warren, are there any general legal matters that we can be discussing at this time? You did comment on the permit for the fireworks peddler.
No, I have nothing else.
Okay. At this point, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session for consideration of a personnel matter.
So move.
Motion by George K.
Second.
Second by John Midwood. Gail, could you record this vote, please?
Certainly. Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fideli?
Aye.
Councilman Kay?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Okay, in order to go into an executive session now, we will excuse everybody except for the town board. Thank you all. I'm just going to wait. I'm going to turn off the recording. Stop cloud recording. Whoops, nope, didn't quite do that.